So today we're going over the ultimate 365 build. I truly think this is one of the best builds for anybody, and we're gonna get into why. Most of you guys are not subscribed. We'd appreciate if you did. It would help us get to 100K. We're not really close, but we're getting there. This build comes in at around $1,400, and it's kind of a Frankenstein build between a 365 X series and an XMacro. This is a very expensive build, and you don't really need all of this to achieve a phenomenal 365, but if you're building out a 365, this is probably the best way to do it. Starting with the Holosun 47K, this is probably one of the better slimline optics. I just prefer it on pretty much any subcompact gun. It's got a nice solid dot. I really wish it had solar charging, but I think Holosun's working on something like that. Just really can't complain with this dot. Like I said earlier, this is an X series 365 frame. The reason I went this route is because I got this slide long before the XMacro came out. Not knowing that this was gonna eventually morph into this, I'm really glad I went that route. The X series slide comes optics cut. It's a standard 365 length, so I'm running a true precision 365 threaded barrel with the Herrington Arms HG 365 compensator on there. That's going to help with the muzzle flip and linear recoil, as a lot of our Herrington Arms compensators do. The slide's pretty basic, and I think anyone who wants to build the perfect build should really get the 365X slide. If you get an XL slide, you're adding all this added length for no reason. If you get the XMacro slide, it's just not gonna be as effective as a compensated handgun. One similarity that all of these guns have in common is the FCU from SIG. The FCU comes out and then you can replace basically everything on the gun. This is actually the original FCU from the X Series 365. I just went ahead and bought a $100 XMacro frame, and that opened the door for a lot of capabilities and possibilities. Now I can honestly take this to the range and make it a competition gun or a carry gun. With this XMacro frame, you now have the option to put a weapon light on a 365, which we all know is incredibly important. Seeing it dark is super important. What's really nice is now you can carry a small weapon light on here, and you have a 17 round magazine. This is kind of on the larger end for a carry gun. Most guns you see are around 15 rounds, but honestly, the grip length is almost perfect on here. My finger ends right above the top of the frame. So this frame is gonna add a lot of capability between the light and the 17 rounds. But honestly, it's the best feeling 365 frame on the market. There's a lot of aluminum frame options out there, and now even polymer frame options, which we'll get into that here in a little bit. But all of those are great. I just think that the original XMacro frame feels the best. It's kind of the most versatile too. You can remove the back strap and make it thicker if you have bigger hands. Again, that's kind of why I think this is the best do-all gun for anybody, is females who have smaller hands. This gun will feel perfect for, because you can shrink it up and you still have the capacity. It's not really one of the smaller tiny guns that only hold 10 or 12 rounds. Or you could scale it up and make it even bigger for a guy with larger hands, and it's gonna feel comfortable for everybody. Another thing I really like about this 365 and this XMacro frame is the length of pull is absolutely perfect for me. Both before the trigger is depressed and then when it breaks, it's not so short that my finger feels like it's all the way pinned back here and wants to slide forward. A lot of striker fired guns do this to me, and it's just really uncomfortable when I'm trying to shoot fast. One thing to note here is we actually sell most of the components for this. We sell lights, 365 slides, compensators, barrels. Actually, this XMacro frame, 365 triggers. If you're interested in anything in this build, check out HerringtonArms.com. We'll probably have it. So now you guys know what all goes into this build, but you're probably wondering, how much does it weigh? This build weighs 1 pound, 14 ounces, and that's loaded with 17 rounds of carry ammo from Hornady. If you guys watch our last video, you'll see this is about half the weight of a loaded P320 setup, and I think that's honestly why it's pretty much the ultimate gun in my opinion. You can use this for competition. It's definitely big enough. It's got the capacity. You can carry a lot more mags with it that are still 17 rounds. There's companies making mag extensions for this. Also, you can still carry this gun. So if you guys did see, we just made a video carrying the 320 for 7 days. And as you're gonna tell, the 365 is a lot smaller than the 320. And why I say it's the perfect gun is because you could easily carry this. I carried this for 7 days and it really wasn't that bad. It was probably average, where this is probably half the size. I don't know about the exact measurements, but significantly smaller, which is gonna help a lot. Most people, if something is uncomfortable, they're just not gonna carry it. So if you can use this gun for competition and carry, obviously it's gonna be a good home defense option. It's got a weapon light on there, it's got the capacity, but there are some drawbacks. This is not a cheap build. Coming in at the price tag of $1,400, this is not gonna be for everybody. There's a lot of guns that come right off the shelf for $500 that could do basically the same thing. Sure, it's gonna have more recoil, or it's not gonna have perfect grip texture or ergonomics, but theoretically you can do the same thing. So why would somebody build this? All in all, there's not a lot of cons for this, and frankly, I think SIG knocked it out of the park with this gun. It definitely had its issues in the beginning with striker drag that apparently got fixed relatively quickly. I bought this gun shortly after those accusations were made, and I never had any issues. When it comes to reliability, this gun's been pretty much perfect. We've got thousands of rounds on it at this point, both with testing of our compensators and just making videos for you guys, and it's honestly been perfect. What really separates the SIG lineup, both the 320 and the 365, is the FCU system. This gun is just so versatile. You can build it so many different ways, and I think half of that is honestly because of the frame system. When you look at all the different options out there, you have companies like Icarus, Shallow Tech, Mischief Machine, soon to be Herrington Arms. There's just a lot of options out there. And frankly, if you can imagine it, you can pretty much build it. And I think that's what's so cool about this gun is the aftermarket accessories for Glock kind of built the pathway for SIG when it comes to people wanting to mod out their guns and not just buy something off the shelf and it be perfect for them. People like to customize things. People like to build stuff for their specific use case, and there's just not too many guns that can do it as good as the 365 can, or the 320, but in my case, I think the 365 is the better option, just because it's smaller, and it's gonna be a lot easier for me to carry this gun. So as I said earlier, the SIG macro frame has been my favorite, but today, we just got this new polymer air frame in from Icarus, and honestly, I really like it. I kind of wish we had it before filming this video, but to be honest, there's a lot of things I see here that would not make it easy to carry or perfect to carry. I'm really excited to shoot this frame, so we might do a follow-up video later. It's really cool to see companies coming out with more options. Icarus is known for the aluminum frames, so it's really cool to see polymer frames coming out and adding just that much more versatility to the 365 lineup. At the end of the day, this is an ultimate build. It's not a gun that you just buy off the shelf and you get it really cheap and it's perfect. With a build, you're gonna have money invested into it, getting it exactly how you want it. Just like any hobby or niche, there's gonna be costs associated with building something. I think SIG knocked it out of the park with this. It's probably one of the better guns on the market, and if you get the chance to hold one of these, probably not gonna be a Frankenstein build like this, but I recommend going and checking out the XMacro frame. Even if it's got the XMacro slide on it, check it out, and then consider doing this build. We've done a video comparison on this months ago. If you guys want to check that out, go check it out. This is just a really cool build. I think this is going to fit a lot of people's needs, and more people should consider carrying this gun. If you guys liked this video, we'd appreciate a like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.